look at converting decimal numbers into fractions. So today we're going to learn one of the easiest topics in mathematics, converting decimal numbers into fractions. These are the steps. First, count the decimal places. Step 2, choose the correct base 10 number. Step 3, multiply the decimal by the base 10 number that get a whole number. 4, write down or write the whole number over the base 10 number, and that means to write it as a fraction. And 5, all we have to do is just to simplify the fraction if possible. So just 5 steps, and you're gonna see how we use these 5 steps. Step 1, identify the number of decimal places. The number of decimal places tells you which base 10 number you need to use. What are base 10 numbers? Example of base 10 numbers are 10, 100, 1000, 10,000. Notice that each number is made up of a 1 followed by zeros. Step 2, choose the correct base 10 number. The number of decimal places determines the number of zeros. So for example, if the number has 1 decimal place, then the base 10 number that will be used to multiply would be 10. If the decimal number has 2 decimal places, then the base 10 number that will multiply by would be 100. If the decimal number has 3 decimal places, then we'll multiply that number by 1000, because the number of 0 will be related to the number of decimal places in that number. Right? So if that decimal number has 4 decimal places, then we'll multiply by a base 10 number with 4 zeros, and that will be 10,000. For example, 0.7. 0.7 has 1 decimal place because 1 number is before decimal point. So 0.7 has 1 decimal place. So because of that, we'll multiply by 10. Notice how many zeros is there? Just 1 0, because there's only 1 decimal place for this number right here. Look at the second example. We have 0.25. That has 2 decimal places because there are 2 numbers or 2 digits before decimal point. So because of that, we are going to multiply by a base 10 number with 2 zeros. Let's look at this one now. We have 0.375. 0.375, that number has 3 decimal places, so we'll multiply by a base 10 number that has 3 zeros. So it's very important for you to know that. So let's get started with our first example. Example 1. Convert 0.6 into a fraction. So we're going to use all our steps to ensure that we do what we need to do. So let's start with the first step. So we need to find which base 10 number we are going to multiply this number by. Looking at this number has 1 decimal place. So this number has 1 decimal place. And because it has 1 decimal place, and you know, to know if a number has, you know, any decimal places, then we have to look at the amount of digits that comes before decimal point. So there's only 1 digit that comes before decimal point. So this is just 1 decimal point, or 1 decimal place. So because this digit right here, or this number right here, has 1 decimal place, we're gonna multiply this number 0.6 by 10. So 0.6, we're gonna multiply that by 10. And the whole purpose of multiplying these decimal numbers by a base 10 number is just to get rid of the decimal point. You want to change it where it looks just that it's a whole number. You want to change it into a whole number. So 0.6. So 0.6 multiplied by 10 is gonna be equal to a whole number 6. So 0.6 times 10 is gonna be equal to just 6. So now that we have it as a whole number, we're just gonna write it as a fraction. So now that we have it as a whole number, we have our whole number right here. So the first step, we convert it into a whole number. So now that we have our whole number, we are gonna convert that now into a fraction. And just as a step before, we are going to have to put that number over the base 10 number that we multiplied by. So if we put the whole number over the base 10 number that we multiplied by, we will get this fraction right here. So this fraction right here is what we'll get. It'll just be 6 over 10. So 6 over 10 is the same thing as 0.6. So what it means is just that it means that this whole number right here, this 6, is being divided by 10. So if we divide it by 10, we get 0.6. And if we multiply 0.6 by 10, we'll get 6. So right here, we just have it in a fraction already. It's already in a fraction. But in order to ensure that we get the question correct, or to get the answer that we desire, the next step is always to just simplify. That's always going to be our final step. So we always have to simplify our fraction. Find which number can divide the number at the top and the number at the bottom without leaving a remainder. So let's simplify our fraction below. So we're gonna have 6 over 10, and we're gonna simplify it. Now looking at this, the first number I think of that can divide both the number at the bottom and the top is 2. So I'm gonna divide the number at the bottom and the number at the number at the top and the number at the bottom by 2. So I'm going to divide by 2. Alright, so after dividing by 2, I'm going to get a new fraction, or a simplified fraction. 2 divided by 6 is going to be 3. Over 2 divided by 10, that's going to be equal to 5. Looking at this, we can simplify. If we have a case where we can simplify, then we continue to simplify. But looking at this fraction right here, there's no number that can divide 3 and 5. There's without leaving a remainder. That is, there's no same number that can divide both 3 and 5 without leaving a remainder. So our answer remains just 3 over 5. So 0.6 as a fraction is going to be equal to 3 over 5. So these are the steps that are there. First, count decimal places, and I did. So for the first example right there, if you realize, I ensured that it had 1 decimal place. We choose the decimal the base 10 number based on the decimal place. So because it was 1 decimal place, I multiplied by just 10, because the decimal place, the number of decimal place tells you the amount of zeros is gonna be in that base 10 number. So after that, we multiply the decimal by the base 10 number, and we did that. So the 0.6, we multiply that by 10, and after multiplying by 10, and we get that whole number, we write the whole number over the base 10 number, and that's how we'll have our fraction. And the last thing that we will have to do is just to simplify that fraction we did right here in order to get our 3 over 5. So let's continue with example 2. So let's convert this right here. So we have 0.24, and looking at 0.24, I can definitely see that the number of decimal places is going to be 2. So this is 2 decimal places. So this is 2 decimal places. So because this is 2 decimal places, I'm going to have to multiply by a base 10 number with 2 zeros. So let me write that down. It's going to be 0.24 multiplied by 1, and we're going to put 2 zeros. So therefore, we're going to multiply by 100, because this number has 2 decimal places, meaning 2 numbers, or 2 digits rather, comes before the decimal point. So this number right here has 2 decimal places, so we're going to multiply by a base 10 number that has 2 decimal places. So 2 decimal places. 1, 2. Alright, so with that being said, we're just going to multiply. We're going to multiply the 0.24 by our 100. And if we multiply 0.24 by 100, we will get 24 for our answer. Because that's the whole point of multiplying. That's the whole point of multiplying by these base 10 numbers. We want to ensure that we convert our decimal number into just a regular whole number. So by multiplying by this base 10 number, we will get 24. That's just a regular whole number. So when we have our whole number, we're going to put our whole number over the base 10 number that we multiplied by. So that's going to be 24 over 100. Afterwards, we can just simplify. So now that we have our fraction right here, we can simply just simplify. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to simplify by finding 2 numbers that can divide both the bottom and the top without leaving a remainder. Alright, so looking at that number, I'm going to divide by 4, because 4 can divide both the number at the top and the number at the bottom without leaving a remainder. So I'm going to divide both the number at the bottom and the number at the top by 4. And if I divide the number at the top and the number at the bottom by 4, I'm going to get a new fraction. And that new fraction is going to be So the first thing is 24 divided by 4. That's going to be equal to 6. So 6 over, and 4 divided by 100. So 100 divided by 4 is going to be equal to 25. All we did was just to simplify this fraction right here into a more simplified version. So 0.4 is just going to be, as a fraction, it's going to be equal to 6 over 25. So the first thing that we did, just as I told you before, multiply the decimal number by the base 10 number based on the number of decimal places. Afterwards, when you get that whole number, put it over the the base 10 number as a fraction, and we just simplify to get our final fraction. Alright, moving on to question 3. So we have another decimal number, and this decimal number right here is 0.125. So 0.125, this obviously is going to be of 3 decimal places. 3 decimal places. So this number has 3 decimal places because 3 digits come before the decimal point. So because it has 3 decimal places now, I'm going to multiply this number by a base 10 number that has 3 zeros. So it's going to be 1.25 multiplied by a base 10 number with 3 zeros, because the number of zeros is based on the number of decimal places. So that's going to be 0, 0, 0. Alright, multiplying 0.125 by 1000, you will get a whole number of 125. So now that we have that whole number right there, we're just going to put it over the base 10 number that we divided by. So we're going to have 125 over 1000. And afterwards, we will just simplify. So we're just going to simplify our fraction right here. So we're going to simplify everything. Alright, and by simplifying, we just find the number that can divide both the top and the bottom without leaving a remainder. And so let's write it below right there. So it's going to be 125 over 1000 and you can always divide or simplify using the smallest number if you wanted to, but looking at this right here, I'm just gonna divide both the top and the bottom by 25, because 125 divided by 25 is gonna be equal to 5. So I'm gonna divide both the top and the bottom by 25 in order to simplify. But for others, don't be afraid to use smaller numbers. So you could divide both the number at the top and the bottom by just 5. That's completely fine. But I'm gonna divide both the number at the top and bottom by 25, because the larger the number, the less we have to simplify. Alright, so that's gonna be equal to, so 125 divided by 25, that's gonna be equal to 5. That's gonna be equal to 5. So 5 over, and we have 1000 divided by 25. So that's 1000 divided by 25. That's gonna be equal to 40. Alright, now that we have this this fraction right here, we can simplify again. So we're gonna simplify again by choosing a number that can divide both the bottom and the top without leaving a remainder. And that number, obviously by looking at it, I'm just gonna divide both the number at the top and bottom by 5. So I'm gonna divide 5 by 5, and I'm gonna divide 40 by 5. So this is gonna be equal to so 5 divided by 5 is gonna be 1, and 40 divided by 5 is gonna be equal to 8. So we end up with 1 over 8. Alright, so that's gonna be our final fraction. So 0.25 written as a fraction is gonna be equal to 1 over 8. So this is our final answer. Alright, so the goal is always to remove the decimal point. Once the decimal point is gone, the fraction practically creates itself. Your turn. Try these on your own. Pause the video and solve these two questions. Question 1, convert 0.8 into a fraction. Question 2, convert 0.35 into a fraction. If this video helped you understand decimal fractions, give it a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more mathematics lessons. Take care. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.